you posted on X that planning for President Trump's inauguration should, your word, assume that the National Guard and DoD are, quote, compromised at a minimum by hatred of the incoming administration. What information did you have about each member of the Guard and DoD that caused you not only to draw this conclusion, but to put it out there in public?
Senator, I had no information that
So you just said it about our Guard. You know, competence is based on the experience and performance of a military leader. Evidently, you have no information individually about the generals, the admirals, and the members of our National Guard and DoD who serve this country, and yet you're willing to say that they all need to be fired or treated as traitors. You seem to think that if a general or admiral was promoted.
What happens when a nominee's own social media posts become the evidence against him? In this hearing, Elizabeth Warren confronts a Trump Defense Department pick over tweets suggesting loyalty tests and military purges, and the exchange gets uncomfortable fast.
Thank you. Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our military is strong because each member pledges loyalty to the Constitution, not to a specific president or a political party. And in return, military service and promotion are not tied to a political party or personal loyalty. President Trump threatens that political neutrality with no explanation. He has fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the chief of naval operations. Secretary Hegseth has purged top military lawyers and called for removing, quote, woke generals. Former defense secretaries have called this a, quote, new political standard for military service. So, Mr. Tata, if confirmed, you would be the defense secretary's principal advisor on personnel matters. You've already made your views clear. On November 2024, you posted on X that a, quote, must do, close quote, for the Trump administration will be to, quote, review every four-star appointed by Biden and thank many for their service before firing them. Mr. Tata, what evaluations did you do for each of the dozens of four-star generals and admirals to convince you that each of them needed to be fired?
Senator, that comment was in response to a CNN article that had credible sources that several admirals and generals were having discussions on how to resist lawful orders from the president usurping his Article II constitutional authority as commander-in-chief, which I find unacceptable. I think we can all agree that the Constitution of the United States that we swear an oath of office to, that I have done for many times in my career, is the ultimate penultimate document that we support and that we swear an allegiance to. And so if there were people that were having those conversations, if there were admirals and generals that were having those conversations.
Mr. Tata, I have your tweet here, and your tweet doesn't say, I want to investigate person by person and see what they've done. I also want to make clear that when generals are having conversations about what to do if they receive illegal orders so that they can still follow their obligations under the Constitution of the United States, then they are following the law. They are not breaking the law. But let's go on to what else you have said.
Senator, if I might, the article said controversial, did not say illegal. And so controversial is very subject to interpretation.
I just want to clarify here. You want to say, you want to fire everybody. I've got your tweet here.
I don't want to fire anybody, Senator.
You think they gave controversial statements? I'm sorry, it says before firing them. Mr. Chairman, could I enter this into the record, please? Mr. Tata's tweet.
Is there objection? There being no objection, it is so admitted.
Let me try another one. On November 2024, you posted on X that the Trump administration should choose only leaders who are, quote, all oars in the water to achieve Trump Agenda 47. That suggests that you believe that generals should be picked for loyalty to Donald Trump. Is that right? Is that what you believe?
That is not what I believe, Senator.
Then why did you post this?
Well, I was a private citizen when I posted that, and
So when you were a private citizen, you said things you didn't believe?
As
Still are a private
Agenda
citizen
47,
right now, Mr. Tata.
Senator, let him answer the question.
Senator, I'm respectfully trying to answer your question. Agenda 47 talks about shipbuilding. It talks about reducing the wars that we engage in. And so as a leader, I support the idea, I support the president's vision that he had in Agenda 47, though, from a foreign policy perspective. And that's what I was referring to.
That is not what this tweet says. Mr. Chairman, may I enter this tweet into the record?
Without objection.
In January 2025, just 4 months ago, Mr. Tata, you posted on X that planning for President Trump's inauguration should, your word, assume that the National Guard and DoD are, quote, compromised at a minimum by hatred of the incoming administration. What information did you have about each member of the Guard and DoD that caused you not only to draw this conclusion, but to put it out there in public?
Senator, I had no information that
So you just said it about our Guard. You know, competence is based on the experience and performance of a military leader. Evidently, you have no information individually about the generals, the admirals, and the members of our National Guard and DoD who serve this country, and yet you're willing to say that they all need to be fired or treated as traitors. You seem to think that if a general or admiral was promoted during a Democratic administration, that person should be automatically fired. That's just a political purge and a pretty standard move for a dictatorship. I think it disqualifies you for this office.
Thank you.
Moments like this reveal why confirmation hearings matter, not as political theater, but as one of the few times nominees must publicly account for their views before taking power over national institutions. In this exchange, Senator Elizabeth Warren focuses on something deceptively simple: the nominee's own public statements. Her argument centers on a foundational principle of American civil-military relations, that the armed forces swear loyalty to the Constitution, not to any president, ideology, or political party. That tradition is not symbolic, it's structural. It's what separates democratic militaries from authoritarian ones. Promotions, command authority, and personnel decisions are meant to be insulated from partisan loyalty tests, because once political allegiance becomes the metric, professional independence erodes. Warren frames her questioning within a broader concern about politicization, citing firings of military leadership and rhetoric about removing so-called woke generals. Whether one agrees with that framing or not, it sets the stage for her central line of attack: the nominee's tweets calling for reviewing and firing four-star officers appointed during a previous administration. Her questioning strategy is methodical. Instead of debating ideology, she asks about process. What evaluation did he conduct? What evidence justified such sweeping claims? This is significant because large-scale personnel judgments in the military are typically based on years of performance reviews, operational outcomes, and institutional assessments. When the nominee concedes he had no individual information, the exchange shifts from policy disagreement to credibility scrutiny. Another key moment arises around the discussion of Agenda 47 and selecting leaders aligned with it. Warren interprets this as signaling loyalty to a political figure. The nominee reframes it as support for policy direction rather than personal allegiance. This clash illustrates a broader tension in democratic governance, distinguishing between policy alignment, which is normal in political appointments, and personal loyalty, which raises institutional red flags. The line between the two can be blurry, and hearings often hinge on how convincingly nominees clarify that boundary. The National Guard tweet adds another layer. Warren presses him on suggesting the force might be compromised by hostility toward an incoming administration. When he acknowledges having no supporting information, her critique escalates, arguing that making sweeping public accusations about service members without evidence undermines trust in the institution itself. That point matters because military legitimacy relies heavily on public confidence that it operates above partisan suspicion. What Americans are seeing here isn't just a dispute about tweets. It's a deeper argument about norms, how rhetoric shapes governance expectations, how public statements signal decision-making philosophy, and how senators attempt to forecast future conduct from past behavior. Confirmation hearings function as a stress test for those norms, exposing philosophical divides about executive authority, institutional neutrality, and accountability. For the public, the takeaway isn't simply which side landed the sharper exchange. It's understanding the stakes. Personnel leadership roles influence promotions, discipline, and strategic culture across the armed forces. Views on loyalty, neutrality, and politicization at that level cascade downward through the chain of command. That's why senators interrogate not just policies, but mindset, judgment, and credibility. Moments like this invite Americans to ask larger questions. How should political leaders balance civilian control of the military with preserving its nonpartisan character? What responsibility do nominees have for their public rhetoric before holding office? And where should the line be drawn between political alignment and institutional independence? If you found this breakdown valuable, stay engaged, stay informed, and keep examining how these exchanges shape the institutions that ultimately serve the public. Conversations like this aren't just about one hearing, they're about the standards Americans expect from those entrusted with power.